We begin.
Cool.
Welcome everybody to the circle. So great to have Andy with me, joining me
Ah, hmm.
live on camera. Baby Joe asleep. So that's a real treat.
It worked out.
Hopefully it can happen more often.
Yeah.
We're in the great state of Florida this evening, and I have actually some notes, which is very unusual for a circle. So there's a lot of new things happening here. Very excited about diving in tonight. Very excited for the participation. Um, Yeah, and I'm excited to see what unfolds in the space. So last week things got like pretty abstract. So I felt the call to bring it back down to a very practical, pragmatic space this evening. And what I feel really inspired by and what I feel called to, it's really just supporting people to improve their lives. That's kind of what the basis is. I know that I was originally talking about transcending suffering, and maybe that's even a little bit hard. What does that mean? But it's really like helping people improve their lives. And that's what I'm dedicated to, and just finding things that improve their lives and then sharing what I discover and supporting other people to implement if they desire, if they choose to, those things. And so, we've talked a lot about God. We've talked a lot about Jesus, but the only reason I talk about those things is because I've seen that it helps people improve their lives. If I didn't see it helping people improve their lives, I wouldn't talk about it. And one of the things that I feel really passionate about is the integration of we could call the spiritual and the physical. There's things that for some reason have been separate. We could maybe explore what those reasons are, but I don't feel they certainly don't need to be separate, and I don't think they're supposed to be separate. I think they're supposed to come together. Like I mentioned in the kind of the promo, if you want to call it, that it's really important for us to uh, fulfill the purpose we're here to fulfill, to live our purpose, that we have strength, that we have vitality, that we have energy, that we have life force, that we have strong immunity, that we have sharp minds. These things are fundamental to us being the person that we're called to be. And so that's kind of what I want to focus on tonight. I'll just kind of give a little bit of an overview of holistic health and my take on it and the way I work with people with that, and then open it up for people. I know there's some people that want to share their stories of transformation with their health, and what were some key differences and things that help them to share with others. So we'll make space for that, and then we'll maybe get into some specific things, recommendations, tips that we can share for those here live on the call, and for those that are not here live on the call as well. And this is a topic we could talk literally like 50 hours about. So this may be like a two-parter or a three-parter, or maybe we'll do it different times, sequentially at different points. But we'll see how far we can get this evening. So holistic health it's so interesting because there's this idea that it's something like strange, or it's alternative, or it's like abnormal or something, and it's completely opposite. It's the most normal, unstrange, uh whatever, non-alternative health that there possibly could ever be or could exist. One of the things that you'll hear me talking about a lot is natural law is God's will, and God's will is natural law. That's one of the things I've been saying a lot recently. And so holistic health is basically living in alignment with natural law. And when you live in alignment with natural law, you're going to be healthy and vital and vibrant. And when you don't live in alignment with natural law, you're not going to be healthy and vital and vibrant. Like there's a way that we were designed to live, and living that way is going to bring health, and not living that way is going to bring dis-ease. Disharmony is going to put us out of balance and create different ailments for ourselves. So the holistic health is this understanding, which I had to move through this understanding in my life because coming down with chronic fatigue syndrome when I was 20 years old. It was a lot of intense pain, a lot of um, bedridden for an extended period of time, and wasn't getting answers to what was happening with me through the medical establishment. So I was essentially forced to try to find out what I could do to support myself and help myself. And one of the things that I came to that really kind of blew me open in this new way that I hadn't realized previously was the depth of the mind body connection. And then from there, the depth to the mind to the body to the emotions to the spiritual, it's all completely, it's so interconnected and related that even to say interconnected makes it sound like they're separate things, but it's all one unified field of intelligence. And the body is just the physical, the kind of the 3D, if you will, expression of health and wellness. So I started to have this kind of realization of, oh, like, the way I think and the stuff I'm thinking about and the thoughts I have, that affects my health and well-being. The feelings I have, my emotional intelligence. I don't know if I used that word at that time or that phrase at that time, but my emotional intelligence affects my health, right? And then I discovered that the spiritual connection or lack thereof, affects health and well-being. So then, working with myself and making all kinds of lifestyle shifts and lifestyle changes and living so much more consciously and so much more intentionally and so much more purposefully. And then working with other people, all different places, all different parts of the world, all different kinds of people. I started to kind of come across basically 10 areas that cover all of the components and the elements of someone's life. And those elements, we can go through them right now. So these are basically the 10 elements to health. And some of them you wouldn't maybe think of, or you wouldn't, they're not stuff that maybe traditionally is put into the field of health, but they definitely are related to your health. So the first is the physical, right? That's kind of the most obvious, the one that gets talked about the most. And that's things like your diet, exercise, sleep. I mean, I think those are the three of the most fundamental things of all of health. In fact, if you could get those three down, um, those may be arguably three of the most essential components. I think sleep is very underrated in our society. It gets overlooked. It's like not that important. But as you kind of go on this path, or if I go on the path, I've really seen that it's fundamental, and it's like important to make it a priority. And as I sometimes say, sleep like a champion. Learn to sleep like a champion. Exercise, I think, most people know that that's important, even though maybe they don't do it, but they know it's important. Diet, I think people know is important, even though they don't do it. They know it's important to be mindful of what you're eating. We could talk about that stuff in more detail. The next one is the mental component, which is huge. The mental component is positive mindset, negative mindset. What are you visioning? What are you dreaming? What are you focused on? Do you feel inspired about your future? Do you feel excited about your future? Do you have a sense of purpose? Do you have a sense of meaning in your life? Um, those things, again, are like super important for health. And if you don't have that, it eats away at your life force. It eats away at your health and well-being. So like again, all these things are things we can talk about for extended period of time. We can double back on some of them, but I'm just kind of touching over the general areas right now. So the next one would be emotional intelligence. Huge subject. I think we're all students in this realm, right? So it's this beautiful balance of not suppressing or repressing anything you're feeling. So being present with whatever emotion is arising, but also not holding on to emotion or being attached to emotion after it no longer needs to be present. So it's like you can get caught in either one, where you're suppressing the emotion, you're repressing it, you're not acknowledging it, you're not feeling it, or you're holding on to something that was over a year ago or 3 years ago or 20 years ago, right? So this is the emotional intelligence of being able to work with the emotions as a teacher, as a friend, as a source of a companion that's there to guide you. That's why we call it the emotional intelligence, right? It's the intelligence that can guide you and direct you through life if you understand how to be with the emotional field that we're experiencing in our lives. So then we have these three I kind of tend to put together because they're interrelated. So community, family, relationship. And these components are really important for health. We're not designed to live alone. Um, we're designed to live in community. We're designed to have a, a emotional support system. We're designed to have a physical support system. We're designed to have a spiritual support system. We're designed to be in relationship with each other. And when we don't have that, and unfortunately in our society, many people don't have that, we suffer. This is one of the reasons why it was upsetting for me during the COVID area where people were forced in isolation, people were forced to die by themselves, people were forced to um, not allowed to have funeral, et cetera, all the things that, we all went through it. So that makes your health worse. That's not helping people to be healthy. That's making people more sick when they lose the connections to people that they love, when they lose connections to people that they care about, when they can't be present with them. Being able to feel loving touch is really important for us as human beings. It makes a real positive difference in our lives. Holding someone's hand, when you're going through something difficult. These things are critical, and I think they get kind of pushed to the side as like not important. And we've kind of gone toward people living alone and people just being on their gadgets, and it's not going to cut it for optimal health and wellness. So one of the things I really help people with is to reconnect to community, reconnect to a relationship if they desire to, reconnect to family. Family relates to forgiveness, which is a huge component of healing, right? So when we think of physical healing, we don't always connect it with emotional healing, but the two are completely interconnected. And it's the reality, unfortunately, that a, most people have people in their minds that they're holding resentment towards, in their lives. And we've talked here before about, one of Jesus's primary teachings is about forgiveness. And, forgiveness, we think about it as well, this other person doesn't deserve forgiveness, or they do deserve forgiveness, or, kind of weighing that in our minds. But when we forgive, the person by far that benefits the most is us. It liberates us internally, and it liberates our life force. It liberates our energy. It kind of returns our power back to us. Now, power is an interesting thing because power is another thing that people have a negative connotation about quite often, as power is a bad thing or power is a negative thing. But if you think of power as like the electrical outlet, like you're plugging into the power, you know, that's the way that I would invite you to think about power, as like when you're connecting to your power, you're connecting to the power, and you're like plugging into the source, and then you have the energy, you have the power to flow through you in the same way electricity works. And so forgiveness allows us to reconnect to our power. And human relationships in general, there's so much learning and growing that happens to us through that process. Um, and so it's just important to realize, because I think people get in this thing of like, again, the emotional intelligence, like, well, let me just suppress that. I don't really need that. I don't really, no, it's true. You need it. It's a real thing, and it's important and it's valuable. And I think it's just socially and culturally, we we've made other things more important, specifically material things that are not going to bring us health and vitality. In fact, one great way to think about it is the more vitality the thing has in your life, the more vitality you have. So if you have like a chair, you know, A cat has more vitality than a chair. So that's a cat will give you more vitality than a chair. Then you have things like babies. Babies have tremendous amount of vitality. A woman, a man, a human being. These things have so much more. These things, these people, these beings have vitality, and you have vitality. And the more vitality you have surrounding you, the more vitality you have in your life, and the more you can access that connection and benefit from it, and give that benefit to others as well. So that's why so much of the stuff that I've done, like the retreats and different in-person gatherings, and this as well, I was thinking about social media and how um, I just don't think it's very fulfilling for most people, and I think people are frustrated with it, but they don't think there's anything else. And in a way, there's not anything else because everyone else is on social media, you know. But at least with something like this, you can see people's eyes, you can see their face, you can talk in real time, you can connect. So it's the closest thing to in-person conversation. And I think that there's something really valuable in that. So that was part of the inspiration of creating this space, is to have a sense of community together. And then from this space, we can have, friendships are made, connections are made, people co-create things together, people share time together, people meet up for coffee or tea or whatever, like there's all kinds of things that can be offshoots of the community that's being created here. So I feel really blessed that we're in this space, and blessed that you guys are participating in the experiment together, and grateful that you're here. Work purpose, that's a clear one. It's important to love what you do and do what you love. And if you don't have that, it really eats at you over time. And if it's something that's really, let's say in opposition to your true sense of purpose or your true sense of integrity or your true sense of morality, then it will make you sick. It will make you sick to keep doing that. And so it's best not to do it. And even if you don't know necessarily what that thing is, you can find it, and many people have found it. And that's one of the things I do, is support people to find what is that true sense of purpose, what is that true sense of what they're called to do, what their work is in the world, that is their gift, that is their love, and to share that and be supported in that. Related to that is the financial component. So this is an interesting one because the things that we're talking about, we live in a world where they cost money. To eat well in the world we live in, it costs money. To do a lot of the self-care things that we'll talk about potentially tonight, they cost money. A lot of these things, financial component is a part of that. And there's this kind of hippy dippy mentality of like, oh, money is bad, and it's the source of all evil, and I don't think that mentality brings um, health and wellness. I think an abundance consciousness brings health and wellness. At the same time, people get attached to money, they get attached to material things, and those people are very unhappy, right? So again, kind of like the emotional component, there's the two extremes, and you want to kind of be in the balancing point in the center, where you can receive financial abundance, but you're not attached to it, you're not addicted to it, you're not thinking that it's the answer to all of life's problems. It's a tool to be used in our world to support these other areas of our lives. Okay, I think we got two more. So the next one is home, and home is where you live, and it's important to feel good where you live and feel like it's a sanctuary for you, that it's a place that's peaceful, that's a place that's beautiful, that it's a place that um, is supportive to you uh, in your health, in your well-being, in your thriving. So that's one that to be mindful of, and be striving towards that if that's something that we don't currently experience. The last one is the one I call the root of the tree. So if you think of a tree, all these other ones are the leaves and the branches. This is the root. This is the foundation. This is the most essential component, and it's the spiritual component. So, kind of the core questions of life is, who am I really? Why am I here? What is my purpose? These deep spiritual questions and being able to get clear and being able to feel coherent inside yourself with these deepest spiritual questions of life. That connection is the connection, like kind of like what I was talking about, the electrical outlet that's plugged into the source. That's what allows the energy to flow through all these other components of your life and allows all the other branches and leaves to flower and bloom in your life. So the reason that I give that one a lot of attention is for that reason. That if it, to me, it's the what I've seen is it's the fundamental component. Like if you think of like if your life was like a bunch of questions, thousands and thousands of questions, the spiritual has the core questions that answers all the other questions in your life. So yeah, working with those 10 areas, they're all interconnected, interrelated, making any part stronger makes all the other parts stronger. Making if any part weakens, it makes all the other ones weaker. So it's been really for me, speaking of work and loving what you do, it's been a love to support people to be thriving in these areas of their lives and just see the transformations in people's lives in all these different areas. But you could think of it as holistic health in the sense of there's a thriving that embodies the fullness of one's well-being, right? And then as that happens more and more, we can be a conduit for our unique purpose in the world, what we're called to share in the world, what we're called to be in the world. And I think the more that we do that, the more alive we feel, the more connected we feel, the more at peace we feel, the more free we feel inside, and the more love we feel. And I guess I'll close out this portion by saying that from what I've seen personally in my experience and from what I've seen in observation, love is the great healer. So love kind of underlies all of these components. So if you think of your body, it's love for your body, you're obligated, you're responsible for your body. So a lot of people hate their bodies, a lot of people dislike their bodies, a lot of people don't have good relationships with their bodies, but it's important for us to learn to love our bodies, and to love our minds and to love our emotions, all of our emotions, all of them, unconditional relationship, and to love the people in our lives and to love the family we come from and to love the work we do, etc. The love is sort of the foundation that brings this vital sense of health and wellness to our lives. And so I think that that's something that doesn't maybe get talked about so much in the medical establishment, if ever. So just wanted to be sure that it's said here and communicated here. So with that, I know some people wanted to share some stories of their transformational journeys with health and wellness. So whoever would like to share first, you're welcome to share. Did you want to share anything, Annie, first?
Um, I mean, I could share a little bit about what inspires me in terms of um, the biggest shift yeah, so I guess I'll share first. um, so I would say maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I got really interested in this dentist from the 50s, Weston A. Price, and just his work, which revolved around he was a dentist. So he saw a lot of different types of people and patients, and he studied teeth and um, kind of made a correlation between some more like just his clients in the Western world having a lot of teeth problems, like narrow palates, crooked teeth, and yet they're spending so much money on dentistry and they are brushing, they are flossing. But so then he started like researching indigenous cultures, and just their teeth were always straight and white, and they didn't focus on dental care. They may not have even brushed their teeth, right? Um, and then so he just was like, well, what's going on here? And wide palates, like enough space in the jaw, the way their mouth formed in utero to accommodate the teeth and all that. So no real need for dentist type of work in the cultures that he was studying. So then he went to diet, which, of course, was more like primal. And you kill the animal, you eat the liver first. You eat all parts of the animal, really. Um, of course, eggs and raw milk and just that type of style of eating. And then it became this whole foundation, the Weston A. Price Foundation, and they still do conferences once a year for maybe, I don't know how long, maybe like a week. I would love to go sometime. And all these speakers from all over the world come out, like, and they just talk about holistic health and diet and wellness and all the things. And it's just so inspiring to me. But I got interested in that. I think initially it was, well, I'm not sure who started it, but we both were interested in it. And so I started really focusing on eating more like that. And can be hard to um, eat organs and stuff. So focus more on like grass fed, grass finished type organ supplements. And I could just really feel a big shift in my nervous system when I started to switch into more like kind of like protein and fat, like healthy fats, animal based healthy fats. And I know that this is not a turn on for some people, and people have different ways of eating, but I'm just speaking from my experience and what it did to my nervous system. It just really helped me to ground. It helped me to put on weight, which was necessary at that time, and just really kind of come into more of my own. Um, I do feel like that style of eating helped me with fertility big time. And then continued eating like that during pregnancy. I feel like it really helped Joa in the womb. And then just continuing on, he's 9 months now and starting to really get interested in food. And that's been online for a while now. But just what I've learned with the Weston A. Price Foundation and just other like kind of like wild nutritionalists that I follow, like primal nutritionalists, and kind of given Joa a really good start in terms of just like really collagen based bone broth, made with like the chicken feet. So it's like really gelatin. Like it can help to, if people are experiencing like leaky gut or inflammation, like gelatin based bone broths, really thick ones, can really help to seal your gut. And especially babies when they're younger, like their guts are a little bit more porous. And so when you're introducing foods, you want to take it, slow and also help to seal the gut lining. And collagen can really help with that, as well as like fermented foods. Um, so yeah, I that's when I think of health, my mind goes right to like diet. And that's where I think that's one of the components that I bring to the family, is just really focusing on nutritionally based, um, real, like
Just real
primal,
food.
real food. And it's inspiring for me to just get creative in the kitchen like that. So that's my share. Maybe I can pop in more later if something arises, but I would love to also hear from all of you.
That was
Thank you, Annie. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add something quick to that. So natural law is God's will, and God's will is natural law, right? So I think one of the things we're always asking is like, what's the natural way to live? Because the natural way to live is the way God created us to live. So the two go together. There's been this idea that the two are separate, but what I've realized is the two go actually completely together. And so, yeah, making, and I tried all different kinds of diets. I won't go through all of them, but I pretty much, whatever you can mention, I probably tried it in my life. But the question is always like, um, what's the foods that, God gave us in its natural form? That's what's going to make us the healthiest, the most vital, the most spiritually awake, the most emotionally intelligent, the most mentally sharp. And so we just try to follow that, stuff that comes in its most natural form from the earth. Not to say that we eat that 100% of the time. I certainly don't, but majority of the time, overwhelming majority of the time. There's a few cheat days, here and there that come into being, but that way of like just kind of like what's the natural way that that I'm supposed to eat? What's the natural way I'm supposed to think? What's the natural way I'm supposed to feel? What's the natural way I'm supposed to move? What's the all this, like, to align with that has just made such a fundamental difference. And I would say that the biggest thing I see with diet would be, for me, would be my immune system. I think it's way stronger than it used to be, um, and much more resilient than it used to be. And I think also brain health. It makes a big difference with brain health and other things as well. But those are a couple of things that
Yeah.
come to mind. Okay, we got a lot of people here.
All
Uh,
right. You want me to?
well, I'll get to you in a few minutes, Arnie.
All
Yeah,
righty.
I do want to get to you, but I think Jacob, did you want to share something?
Yes, absolutely. Um, so I have experienced like such huge transformations in all 10 of these areas. And I think instead of like sharing um, like really broad, I think I'd like to ask you, Brian, what is there something specific that you might ask me?
Oh, that's a fun question.
Yeah.
Something specific I would ask Jacob Denson. Let me think about that question. I'm just gonna share. It's not a question, but I think a question will turn into a question. So when I first met Jacob, he was like really skinny and pale and unhappy and depressed and lost and confused and had a drug addiction and didn't have any money, wasn't working. He was too sick to work. So he didn't work because he was too sick to work. He had all kinds of stomach pain. And what happened after that?
Oh, wow. Um, well, I think I think I remember you telling me like the first thing is like let's get your body healthy. Like let's get your body where you can like actually like get around and function and not be in so much pain. So um the number one goal after that was to get off of methadone. I was on 160 milligrams of methadone at the time, which had made my body so sick. Along with about 10 or 11 other prescription drugs from my doctor, and ranging from antidepressants to um, God, I don't even remember, but just all kind of nonsense that was really killing me. I looked and felt like a dying. I wanted to die actually. I suffered so bad. For 2.5 years, I woke up every day. As soon as awareness came to me, when I would wake up in the morning, I would have to jump out of bed and run to the bathroom, holding my vomit in from coming out, and would just vomit either what I ate the night before or just bile, or oftentimes it got much worse than that, and it was the worst thing you could imagine coming up. Um, and I knew I'd had enough of that. So working with Brian, I love what you talked about love in breathworks, the first breathworks that I started doing with you. I really felt this sense of love for myself, and that I was complete with that love. I didn't need love from my parents. I didn't need love from anything outside of myself. And I would just lay there and just sob and weep and cry and let out so much of that trauma and that sickness and all the unworthiness that I felt about myself. And I would just lay there and wrap my arms around myself and hug myself and just rock and twist and turn and just like really feel um, what I view now as God's love, which is something that is within inside of myself, and with that, I didn't need any other love. And then loving myself, I wanted to take better care of myself and started eating better. Um, Started exercising. I came off of methadone within um, let's see, I started a mastermind with Brian in January of 2020, and I was off. off of methadone by February 2021. And then that started a whole new problem was withdrawals and detoxing, and I was sick. I got shingles that wrapped around my body right here really bad. And it was like debilitating for a month. I didn't walk outside my front door. I was just in such agony and miserable pain. And my doctors had switched from Western medicine, like physicians, to acupuncturist and bodywork massage, chiropractor, and talking with them, they're telling me that my body was detoxing all the trash that I had put in my body for decades. And so going through that detox period, just started and withdrawal period was taking the best care of myself that I could at the time. And my health continually got better. I started to feel better. I was able to work. I was able to produce better. So just naturally, like you start getting one of these areas in line and they all start kind of snowballing and everything started working out. So I started thriving, physically, mentally, emotionally. My work started thriving. Finances started thriving. Relationships, community, all just started building. And the self-care aspect of my journey has been huge. Grateful for the financial, the work abundance that has allowed me to eat and take care of my body in the way that I do, which giving back to myself with acupuncture, herbs, natural ways of healing, eating the best, freshest foods. Our grocery bill in my house is by far double my rent. The most expensive thing in my budget, and we only pretty much shop at farmers markets and get local fresh meats. I buy half a cow at a time, and like 20 30 pounds of chicken at a time, and lamb, and we get bones and we make bone broth, and we get the chicken feet like Annie mentioned, and make this really gelatinous broth. And actually, Haley's upstairs making chicken soup now, and making broth first, bone broth, but then make the chicken soup because I've come down with a little cold in my head and I'm in the sauna. I was feeling very ambitious this morning and wanted to go on a hike and get in the woods or go to the gym and work out. And instead, I listened to my body and took a nap, and then went to the chiropractor and got some good sleep. And just taking care of myself has really made an amazing shift in how I'm able to show up to the world. And I think that being in tune with the body, mind, and spirit is has been something crucial to my advancement in health. And now I'm on no prescriptions, eating healthy, taking really good care of myself, and that like pays dividends on the back end. Like putting all that time, and many times in my beginning uh, times of this journey, I would go to my acupuncturist and leave there with like $20 after I paid for my acupuncture and my supplements. Literally $20. And oftentimes I didn't have money to pay Brian, and he would work with me and let me make payments or pay him later. And so really giving to myself has put me in a position, in a place where I'm mentally capable, I'm physically capable, I'm emotionally capable, and like most of all now, spiritually. Like I'm just full of like the spirit of God and the spirit of love. And it's just, I feel so capable and so confident that I have enough to give other people. And so now that's what I'm stepping into is being more of service in this world. And I think I'm pretty complete with that. I could go on in all these different subjects for days and days, but I think I'm complete. And if anybody has any questions or
said,
comments,
you're an inspiration. So thanks for sharing this
yeah,
for
thank you,
that touch
Regina.
many people. Um,
I'm glad to be here. I'm just thrilled and grateful to be feeling this way and uh, able to be here and be an inspiration for people. That's what I'm here to do. So I'm humbled and grateful. Thank you.
one thing that I think that's valuable to touch on in Jacob's story is you mentioned that detox period. So when you start when you start detoxing, you can feel worse.
Yes.
So it's important to know that that's like part of the journey. Because if you don't know that, then you think, oh, this isn't working, and you stop. You know. But it's fairly normal that you go through a phase where you're detoxing, so a lot of stuff's coming to the surface to kind of be purged. And this can be not just physically, but emotionally. This can be on all the different levels we talked about, even spiritually. You start this journey, and all of a sudden the demons they come to the surface, right? So it's all part of the journey of just like this stuff is coming up to be released and to be let go. So I think that's good to know that there can be a detox portion of this, and it will pass, and it will what's coming up will be released and be let go. And then as far as modalities, um, I won't go too much of this right now, but yeah, breath work is the reason that we share it and we taught it and do workshops with it, retreats is just the healing power of it. And it's so amazing because it's right here. Like we're doing it constantly and we just overlook it and we're looking for something like so far out there somewhere, something, where is it? Where can I find it? And it's like it's your own breath. We're not breathing. And it's crazy, but like we're breathing in a way that's creating this misalignment inside us and disharmony and imbalance inside us. And so when we learn how to just breathe fully and deeply, the nervous system relaxes, the body relaxes, and the body opens, and then we can just receive um, all the vitality and life force and insight and creativity and spiritual guidance and direction, and it's all available to us when we open the body up to be a receptive portal for that, to be a receptive vessel for that.
We
And
can be what we naturally are.
yeah, and the breath is the best way that I've discovered, and the easiest way, and the most natural way to do that. And that's been documented throughout history, through all different cultures. That you know, the in fact, the inspire is to breathe in. That's the literal translation to breathe in. So yeah, thank you again, Jacob.
Lots of water. I'm going to say,
Yeah,
drink. If you think you're drinking enough water, double it.
yeah, and drinking, pure, clean water that comes from the earth, and drink
Minerals.
lots of it. Yeah,
Mhm.
spring water, preferably clean spring
The,
water.
the living water
Drink
Yeah.
from the living
Yeah.
waters,
in so many ways.
physically and spiritually.
Yes, amen.
Yeah, inner shower. It's an inner shower when you drink clean spring water. All right, Arnie. So Arnie, I was working with Arnie this morning, and he's telling me about the hyperbolic chamber he's been working with, and I've been intrigued by it. So that's something you could share tonight in the circle. So he's never spoken before in the circle, but he agreed he would move into the space of sharing a few words. And so I think you're on mute, Arnie. But if you'd like to grace us with a few words of your journey, we would love to hear. You're still on mute.
Am I muted now?
There you go. Yep, got you.
I don't know exactly where to start, but uh, what you said at the very beginning hit home, was beautifully well said. And then my diet is like Jacob's and yours and Annie's and whatever. But I've been suffering from a lot of things, but more recently, toxic exposure to environmental uh, chemicals and neurotoxic moles. And also, I had brain trauma where I fell on my head, and they took me during COVID to the MRI for brain scans and stuff like that. But it affected my personality, my way of life, basically. And I went on a new diet and I detoxed. And I detoxed too quickly, and I couldn't handle the toxins. And I was recommended that I go to this doctor, well, a chiropractor actually in Asheville that uses hyperbaric chamber and also some electronic SSP virtual reality stuff to retrain my brain and inflammation to the blood-brain barrier. So, but the hyperbaric, what you do is you get in a chamber that goes from anywhere from 130 to 160% atmospheric pressure, and you breathe in through a mask oxygen uh, for about an hour. And I do 40 sessions over a period from September, and I think I got to go through April. I go to Asheville once a week for 2 days and spend the night in Powerton. And last spring, I could not stay or live in any physical abode because I personally reacted either mentally, agitation wise. I think Brian's seen some of that agitation. Um, but over a period of time, I have from the hyperbaric chamber work and also some other electronic breath work they use through virtual reality. The breath is key. I also do that on top of it. I found that I've calmed down and they've mapped my brain 2 or 3 times and they have seen actual improvement in my actual brain mapping to where I'm getting mapped in 2 weeks again. And I feel so much better. And, I've tried everything for years for, for a whole different other chronic ailments, but um, it's the combination of the breath and it's almost like virtual reality stuff that they put electrodes on your thing after you do the hyperbaric and I think I told Jacob after his meditation session kind of what I was doing, but and Brian sent me something that Mel Gibson actually was talking to Joe Rogan that he was doing. He said that he was agitated all the time, and they did a scope of his brain with actual neurological like dyes and stuff. And he did a series of 40 sessions with this hyperbaric. And it says before he did this, he was agitated and he wanted to beat everybody up and everything like that. But then he said after doing this, his brain was inflammation and the process has really helped him and his personality wise. And but anybody that's been exposed to either brain trauma or environmental stuff or toxins or chemicals or whatever, I highly recommend them trying it out. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but the one thing I mentioned to I think Jacob was at the very end, I do a virtual reality thing, and you put this thing on your stomach. And the way to get through this maze kind of virtual is you got to do breath work basically. And they say that the breath work through the vagus nerve, actually by inhaling and exhaling, actually helps with the calming and the reduction of the inflammation of the brain. And so, I mean, I could go on forever, but
And
It's really interesting.
the hyperbaric chamber is the combination of oxygen and air pressure, right?
yeah, the air pressure actually makes it to where the oxygen gets into every tissue in your
Yeah,
body. And
yeah,
so it helps you regenerate not only your brain lining, your what do you call it, the blood brain barrier and the cells in the brain and seal them up and
yeah.
balance the brain, but it also helps, it can help with other ailments or inflammation within your body. And
And
it,
sorry, is it
it's a
higher air pressure or lower air pressure?
it's higher air
Higher air
pressure.
pressure, yeah. So
It's like almost 1.5 times the air pressure at the equator. So it's like you would be diving down under the water,
yeah,
like scuba divers, not going up because it's less, but it's the pressure that's compressing the oxygen. And so you're not breathing air, you're breathing pure oxygen
yeah,
that's actually going into your cellular structure.
yeah. And then what I said to you is the based on what you were sharing with me is like the place on Earth that would be the closest to the air pressure and the oxygen level would be the beach
Would be, yeah, on the ocean and the beach.
on
Yes.
the ocean, which is why people feel naturally healthy. That's they generally feel good when they're by the beach. And that's a segue into just one other thing I wanted to say as far as because some of this stuff is like it's like obvious, but it gets I think because it's obvious, it gets so overlooked. And I think fresh, clean air, breathing fresh, clean air is really key as well. And that's one thing that I make a point of. I try to make a point of every day is just getting outside, even if it's really cold, even if it's warmer, is making time to get outside and breathe the fresh air. And I was talking with Jacob this morning about how um, I think one of the primary reasons people get sick in the winter is not because of the weather outside, it's because they're indoors, all day long, all night long, all morning, afternoon. And so they're not getting fresh air. And I think making the intention to get fresh air, even if you just go out for a few minutes and just breathe, take some deep breaths, it makes a big difference. And then there's the air quality, right? So if you're living in a smog-filled big urban area, it's not as healthy as living in the forest, or living on the beach or living in the mountains. Um, and if you can't live there, at least maybe make some time to go there and take some deep breaths while you're out there. Be in the trees or be by the water, and breathe. And the interesting thing too is like the more you're on this journey, the more it almost feels like an inversion thing where it's like you you wouldn't have even noticed if you were, you wouldn't even know what kind of air you're breathing. Like, if you're not conscious on a conscious path, if you're not on this intentional path of healing and on this journey. But the more awake you become, the more you start to notice, like, oh, I can't breathe in this place. There's the air's not clean here. I can't eat this food. It makes me sick. It's like these things you start to become more aware of things that you weren't aware of before. At least that's part of the journey anyway. And so that's an interesting process where the more you kind of become conscious and aware, the more you notice everything, including things that, you've been doing that haven't been healthy for you. Kind of so the bar gets raised in a way. All right, who wants to go next? Liking these healing journeys of transformation, these inspiring healing journeys of transformation.
I can share.
I was hoping you would.
So, just a little backstory. I have
Can
been
you, can
trained
you
in Western
introduce yourself,
medicine.
Marla, to the
Oh, sure,
circle?
sure.
Yeah, thanks.
My name's Marla. Um, I am training critical care nursing. So I have a Western medicine background. But um, when my daughter was born 12 years ago, soon after, they gave me a diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, an autoimmune condition. And I felt like I can heal from it. But being so immersed in Western medicine, everybody around me was saying no. Um, I went to different endocrinologists, and they were essentially telling me that I was going to feel like crap forever, and need to take pharmaceuticals forever, and all the things. And I didn't accept it. I didn't own it. I didn't take it as my own, that diagnosis. And I started researching different like functional medicine doctors, naturopathic doctors, and I finally landed on a naturopathic doctor who told me, he's like, I can do all the supplements and we can do all these tests and all the things, but until you start to work and heal on a spiritual and emotional level, he's like, it's like pouring water into a bucket with holes. And that really grabbed my attention because at the time I was very much in lack mentality and felt like I was wasting money and time and all the things. And so after some prompting from him, I started doing that inner work. I worked with a therapist for a while, learned shamanic Reiki, started doing different types of energy healing modalities. And I noticed some improvement, but I still wasn't really quite there. And Brian, like you said, trying all the different diets. Like I tried paleo, AIP, like all these different diets. And even at one point, I was essentially vegan and I still wasn't feeling great. I noticed an improvement and I also got divorced and energetically cleared some things out that way and noticed some more improvements, but still not quite to where I wanted to be and knew I could be. And I went to a different naturopathic doctor who is very much an advocate for Weston A. Price. And she had me change my diet completely, eating the grass-fed meats, raw milk, and I noticed a huge shift. Continuing to do the inner work, continuing on that path, but when I switched my diet like that, I was off of pharmaceuticals in about a year and a half time, and they told me I was going to be on them forever for the rest of my life. And I just think it's really important to not own diagnoses that they want to give out and to know that everybody has the power to heal within themselves. And for me, another huge thing was a gratitude practice. I started every day at least 3 things that I would come up with something new every day to offer gratitude for. And I noticed my life even shifting more with that practice. So like you were saying, Brian, it's that it's not just one thing, it's this culmination of things coming together. And even more recently, I've been diving into the work of Dr. Hammer with the Menashe Hayakunde, which is also known as Germanic New Medicine or Germanic Healing Knowledge, and really seeing that connection, the psyche, brain, body connection, and how I'm seeing things even shift even more for me, like feeling even better and feeling and finding more and more health and understanding and feeling empowered and really feeling like I'm connecting with my sovereignty again. And I just want people to know that it's possible. Like you don't have to accept or own a diagnosis, that anything is possible. And even if you are finding it challenging to do the organic, grass fed, all that, just start small, and even switching how you think about it, switching, into gratitude, grounding, going outside, like Brian was saying about the fresh air, like all these things come together and they don't all cost money. Like you can heal yourself without spending a lot of money and investing in yourself though. But then also, I believe as Jacob said, when you connect with that abundance mindset and watch things shift that way too, before you know it, it's not going to be an issue of how much eating healthy food is going to cost you. It's going to be just like a no-brainer and everything's just going to flow. So yeah, I love speaking to it because I think, especially coming from the Western medicine background, people are just certain that it's that way and that's it. And being able to share my story with some of my former coworkers and have them just be like in shock, oh, well, you're in remission. I'm like, no, I'm healed. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm in remission and it's going to come back. Like, no, I'm healed. And just being able to speak to that and to give people hope and help people know that they can do it and they have the power within themselves. I think I am complete also.
Aaron. Yeah. inspiring.
Thank you, Marla. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like
Yeah.
my journey with chronic fatigue syndrome, people will ask me, you know, what I did, and sometimes I'll be like, "You want the short answer?" And they're like, "Yeah." Well, basically, I became a new person. You know, this is really what happened. It's like every one of
Yeah.
those 10 areas were changed, were transformed. You know, and I think I think we're it's like these things that happen to us. Um, God's not against us, God's for us, you know. And so these things that are happening for us are happening for a reason. They're happening for us to step into um, the next level of you know of our being, the next level of who we are, who we're called to become. And
Or,
we
or
when
Brian, maybe you became more of who you really are.
yeah,
I love that. It's, rather than thinking you have to be something different, it's actually,
well, it's
I
both,
love
right? Because I did become something different, but I also
it.
became who I really
It
was.
was who you really are. Yeah.
Yeah, but also it was sort of like uh, a process of development too, because I was young at the time, but I think we're always developing. Or at least we have the potential to develop if we answer the call, right?
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like a probably a good metaphor would be like a flower. You know, the flower is always a flower, but it's growing and growing, and then it's opening and it's blooming into this fullness of itself.
Yeah, that's another way.
Yeah.
Huh.
You can also ask questions if you want to, or you can just share a reflection from someone else shared.
I'll share. Hi, Brian. We haven't talked for many moons. And
Are you
when I
related
saw,
to Robin?
pardon?
Are you related to Robin? You're both Altmans.
I know, I just noticed that. No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. Well, welcome, Susan.
Thanks.
Yep.
Um,
Sorry, go
who
ahead.
I'm,
You many moons ago, we haven't talked in many moons. Go ahead.
right, who I'm connected with is Jackie.
Okay.
And so my story is kind of long, but when I saw what the topic was, I thought, maybe I need to share this.
Okay.
Um, it's a journey for sure, and it's the last 5 years have been uh, really pretty incredible. So I'll just say that by day, I'm a financial systems consultant, logic, math, whatever. And my mission statement is to help businesses do business better. And then off time, I do energy work. And 5 years ago, I was in yoga teacher training, and I come from a family of yoga people. My grandmother started teaching me when I was 8. So in 2020, something weird happened. And it's like, well, I was part-time living in the mountains in Burnsville, North Carolina, in an off-grid place, wonderful air, fresh, clean water, spring water, blah, blah, blah. And then the relationship went sideways and get rid of the house. And by the end of the year, I was just loaded with rashes, 5 different kinds of rashes. And I went to Duke and they didn't know what to do with me. And so they just said that was December 2020, make an appointment because I hadn't been to a regular doctor in decades. So, okay, I make an appointment. In January, I go in and the doctor says, I don't know what to do with you. Do I send you to rheumatologist? Do I send you somewhere else? I said, well, I'll pick the dermatologist because I had all these rashes. So I go there, and by the way, my story is one of the power of spirit and the power of the human will. So, and it goes up and down and up and down. And it's like, well, in 2020, I sort of forgot who I was, maybe. I don't know. My core is very strong to believe in spirit, and I made some decisions as a child because of that. So that, you know, don't let your relationship derail you, I guess is the moral of that story. But anyway, they ran test after test after test on me, and the dermatologist decided that I had systemic lupus. And I'm like, oh, wow. And that it could be critical and fatal and all these other things. And if I take a shingle shot, well, I could just have a critical slash fatal episode of systemic lupus. And so I thought, well, and it would create shingles. So I thought, what are my odds? I'm not going to do the shingle shot. So anyway, they give me the immunosuppressant, the mycophenolate, which drops my system way low. And in the meantime, I went through allergy testing and found out something very interesting, that I'm allergic to acrylates. I think the letters of that is HEMA, HEMA. So, like acrylic.
I'm not familiar with that word. What is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Marlon knows what it is. It's a long word,
Okay.
but the mothership of it is acrylate. Acrylic.
Acrylates, what is that?
That's what I
It,
said. She's not sure.
it's a chemical. It's acrylic. Anything that ends in acrylate at the end of it, I have to read every package, everything that I buy. But Duke gave me an app for that. So anyway, the the closest thing, they don't know how I got all this stuff, but the closest thing I can think of is one of the rashes I had was poison ivy. And when you go for, at that time it was COVID, everybody needs the hand sanitizers, right? So there's acrylate in the hand sanitizers, and it's like I was infusing myself with all the things that were toxic to me, and I didn't know it. So there's that. Anyway, then take a vaccine. Well, I took the Johnson and Johnson vaccine before the medication, and I was all right. But then later on, I had a Moderna shot, and I went downhill, and I couldn't walk anymore. So at this point, what was last November, Duke said, you have COVID vaccine injuries. All right, so I can't walk. I can sit in the chair for about 2 or 3 hours a day, wiggle my feet, and eventually I can walk with walking sticks. So it still didn't get much better, and I got shingles. And then I got another set of rashes. Oh no, not just normal shingles, like it would come around your waist, your torso. It ran up my spine. We don't know what this is. They couldn't identify it. Can I take pictures for my class that I'm teaching? The doctor says, okay, take pictures. I just really want to get better though. And so one day I wake up and I feel like I've got a vice grip on my head, and I ask somebody to take me to Duke Urgent Care. So I go there, and they send me right away to Big Duke in Durham. I'm thinking I got a brain tumor or something, because this is what a friend of mine said his sister died from. It's like, oh, wow, maybe now I have a brain tumor. So I go there. There's no rash on me. But while I'm sitting in the ER lobby waiting to get in, the nurse takes my blood pressure and says, how long have you had that rash? I said, what rash? I don't have any rash. Well, I got a rash. Anyway, it went up my spine, into my head, into my eyes, and eventually I was blind. So I stayed in the hospital for a week and on IVs and everything, and I'm doing a lot of praying. It's like, what is the lesson here for me? How do I get out of this? And I made some deals with spirit, with the God. And, if I get out, when I get out, this is what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they said, the Duke team walked in and said, you do not have systemic lupus. Do not take that medicine anymore. Okay, so the first doctor misdiagnosed me in several ways. Anyway, they said it was a miracle how well I was recovering. And then when I look back on it, I think, okay, when you don't learn your lesson at the easier level, you get it harder and harder. And this was actually saving my life, because the immunosuppressant was bringing me down to nothing. and the vaccine injuries were taking
Hello?
over, and I was close to being paralyzed.
This is an important message regarding.
Wow, it is an important message. So anyway, I get out and I'm starting to recover. All I want to do is eat watermelon. So I just ate watermelon. That's it. And watermelon after watermelon came into the house. And then later on, it's like, oh, I crave peas. Why do I crave peas? So I eat peas. You know, I have frozen organic peas that you cook. And so I ate peas and watermelon then. And so it was my decision to just follow my body and not any particular diet. And peas and watermelon kind of brought me out of that. And then I go look it up, you know, what is it about peas and watermelon that help you? Well, watermelon is hydrating, and I drank tons of water. I drink a gallon of water a day anyway. And the peas have certain vitamins that help your nerves. And, you know, then my brain fog was really heavy. It's like brain fog. Oh my gosh, you know, there's something wrong with my nerves. So anyway, gradually I pulled myself out of the fog, and it's been a long time. And my primary doctor changed. He had to go to Florida, so I got a new one in Raleigh. And he just kept telling me, I don't know that I can tell you're ever going to get better. I think you just need to go to acupuncture and yoga. I said, but I feel like I've been invaded by aliens. There's something in me. So he won't test anymore. He said, we're done testing. I'm not going to test anymore. And I was at Duke Neurology for tests. I went to the rheumatologist for tests. Anyway, last year, I was on a mission. It was a ride or die mission to go to Minnesota and be at my niece's graduation and be there for my brother who was going into the hospital for a fourth ventricle that had to have a stent. And I made it. And 2 days later, and by the way, Dan was an executive director for Whole Foods until Amazon bought them out. We're a Whole Foods family, holistic foods, all this stuff. And I was a mess. It's like, what in the world? So I continued to eat that way, and I continued to research different supplements. Oh, there's a critical point in here where it's like, I don't know how I found this one doctor. He's a chiropractor, and he had turned his practice over to helping patients with neuropathy. And they called my situation radiculopathy. But anyway, I went to him, and he was doing this big sales job on these tools for me. And I said, you don't need to sell me. I recognize what this is. As a kid, I studied Edgar Cayce a lot, and this is a wet cell battery, only made in modern times. I said, that's fine.
Hey, Susan, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where's your health at now?
Oh, that's the best part.
Oh,
I'm
good.
getting there.
Okay. Can I hear the best part first, and then can we go backwards?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can. Just tell me like where you're at now and like where you're
I
feeling now.
walk. I've been to yoga twice.
Fantastic.
I've been
What
to
was the-
yoga
what made the
twice this
difference?
week.
Was it yoga and the acupuncture that made the difference?
No, I didn't go back to yoga. It's this doctor with this wet cell battery and something. It's the Rebuilder and the Anodyne 320. So
Okay.
that's the electric thing. It's laser light pads that I strap
Okay.
on my legs.
Okay.
And the Rebuilder is what shocks your feet and sends the waves up your nerves of each leg, and then they cross over
Okay.
to come down the other side. So the doctor, that chiropractor, helped me a lot. And it was a series of supplements and a certain kind of diet and all this other stuff. But it was that wet cell, the Rebuilder, and the Anodyne laser pads.
How do you spell West cell?
WETCELL. But that's the Edgar Cayce description of it.
Okay.
The one that I used is called a Rebuilder.
Okay.
Can you leave the name of that doctor in the chat
Sure.
that helped you with that?
Sure.
I have a
And how
friend who-
long did you notice your symptoms relieving after you started that?
I started that in 2023, March, I think. It took a few months before it kind of cracked the code, so to speak, and I started feeling more and more. Um, but it took 3 hours of therapy a day because
Wow.
my nerves were so degenerated. So Duke said that I had 58% nerve loss in the left leg and 48% in the right leg.
Glad to have you back.
Yep.
Thanks.
Congratulations on
Wow.
Taken three
the
years.
transformation.
But
Wow.
here's what happened in June. So I told my brother I want to go. It's it's the impression in my head. I call it the voices. I don't know. Spirit was talking to me and said, get a Lyme test. So I said to Dan, I'm going to go get some labs, and one of them is Lyme, and they should have tested me for that in 2021, I feel, but they said I didn't have a rash. Okay, so Spirit says, get a Lyme test. All right, I'm going to go do it. So I go do it, and I test positive 8 bands out of 10. So I've had Lyme for years at this point, and an immunosuppressant drug that allowed it to run rampant through my body. So couple that with the vaccine injuries and my nerves are crapped out. And so what happens with Lyme is there's spirochetes, there's spiral bacteria that dig into your cells like corkscrews, and they get missed on standard tests. So anyway, I leave Minnesota, drive back to Raleigh. It takes me days because I'm such a wreck. And took me days to get there because I was so ill. But anyway, 4 weeks on doxycycline, and it took 3.5 weeks to feel better, to feel anything. And I said, well, the pharmacist says I should be on or ask about antibiotic IV therapy. He said, nope, 4 weeks is all you get. Go back to acupuncture, go to yoga. I said, but I'm not well yet. No. So then I go do my little research. This is also spirit talking to me. I go to the health food store in Minnesota before I came back, and the lady who ran the health food store takes notes on all the people who come in there and what they ask for and why they ask for it. So she got me started in that direction with the Japanese knotweed. So then I go back home and I look up all these things and I find a formula that the Mayo Clinic, no, Johns Hopkins uses. So then I plug that into Google and I come up with the Zenman tick immune support system and Dr. Rawls, who's a North Carolina OBGYN who was misdiagnosed for years. And since he was a doctor, he actually had the tools to figure out how to treat himself and get rid of his Lyme disease. So now he's become an expert on this, and it's all about plant antibiotics. So that's what I've been doing. And I went through 4 bottles of that. And now this week I'm on the oil of oregano. And again, it's spirit. He said, or it said, look this up, and the frankincense. All right, I'll look it up. So that's been my journey, is to follow my guidance, my inner guidance, and not accept the
Outer guidance.
diagnoses of the doctor.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much, Susan.
You're welcome. I hope somebody can use this. Plant
Thanks for
antibiotics
hanging in
are
there.
amazing. Pardon?
Thanks for hanging in there.
You're welcome.
We got room for maybe one more, like a quick one, like a couple
Like
minutes,
not mine.
if anybody wants to share.
I'll share something, Brian.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, I feel like I've experienced a lot of transformation in the past year and a half or so that I've known you. Um, so yeah, right now in my life, I'm feeling great, absolutely fantastic. And when I first met you, I was kind of I don't know, stuck in life. I was coming out of alcohol addiction that I had had for close to 20 years. And I was sober for a year at that point, but really not like excited about life. Really not, I don't know, whatever. But what has helped me, I think, the most is kind of diving in spiritually and really seeking. And now I'm coming into a relationship with Jesus Christ, which is very exciting. Another thing that has helped me is meditation and routines. So I have a morning routine that I think I've been pretty consistent with over the last year and a half, and that has been huge for me. And in that morning routine, it includes exercise, it includes meditation, and it includes prayer. So those things are huge, just like you guys have all said. Um,
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about, Jeff, and in the men's mastermind is how you start your day is like such a key.
mhm.
It's the most essential time of the day because that sets the tone for everything else that you move through the rest of the day. So yeah, that's that consistency, I think,
Yeah,
hopefully brings transformation.
and yeah, I mean, I can kind of touch on that today. I was in meditation this morning, just feeling really good, and then realized that I meditated too long and I was going to be late for work. And it's just like all these frustrating things started happening right away, but I was pretty calm about it and not frustrated about it. And then get to work and it's more frustrating things. And it's just like an ability to, I don't really know how to put it, but kind of separate from like getting angry about it. Just letting things be as they are, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like it's a sense of a deep sense of inner peace. I think of it as inner
Hmm.
peace and inner
Yeah,
freedom, and
exactly.
then
Yeah.
love. Those, and then I would even actually the four things I would say are inner peace, inner freedom, love. Love the big love, not just the romantic love, and then empowerment. Actually, you
Hmm.
know, those four components.
Patience.
Patience is a big one.
Yeah.
Patience is a
Oh,
big one for sure.
thank you, Jeff. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
could you
you're
complete,
welcome.
Jeff?
I am complete. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it's been inspiring to, witness your transformation. So yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for sharing it.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, I think we're complete. Great
This is a
stuff.
great meeting.
Great
Woo.
meeting. I feel very inspired. Feel free to things that you guys want to explore here, things that you want to inquire into, questions you have, things that you're feeling challenged by or struggling with that you want reflection on. Like I said, it's just, the general umbrella of how to improve the quality of your life and how to improve the quality of life of others. So just supporting each other to do that here and continue to do that. So it's a dialogue here, but it could be a dialogue in between Thursdays as well that we bring into this space as well. So if there's people that you would like to be a part of the conversation, feel free to invite them to join, or feel free we can feature people sometimes. I put in the Patreon link to support keeping this going and maintaining it if you like it and want to keep it going. And yeah, appreciate all y'all very much. And wishing you a beautiful rest of your week.
Thank you, Brian, for making this happen.
You're welcome. Thank you all for making it happen. Like I say, like it doesn't happen without all of you. If it was just, me and like two other people here, it wouldn't maintain itself. So all of you are making it happen and
Mhm.
just spreading the word. And yeah, grateful to all of you.
Awesome.
Yeah.